Now that we have talked about how the war ends, we're going to go ahead and talk about the effects of World War I that you need to know. So, the first effect is the Treaty of Versailles effect. We've talked about what kind of things that happened with the Germans and some of the other countries that lost. But the Germans were angry, furious about the punishments they were given after the war. Remember, they had to pay damages. It took them 92 years to pay off the damages. They had to give up land. They had to cut back their military. They had to admit that they were the cause of the war. And so that actually ultimately leads to World War II because of those feelings they had about their punishments. That's going to eventually lead to World War II here in about 20 years. All right. The second effect that we need to learn about is that the US becomes a world power after World War I. The war boosted their economy. Remember, the economy is how they make money, buying and selling. And it showed how powerful their military was. So, big deal for the US. The third effect is the boundaries of Europe were redrawn. So there were new countries added, other countries lost land, some people were given a way to get to the sea, and others were taken away. We'll learn about that when you return, and we'll talk about what the maps look like in 1919 compared to 1914. The next effect is that there was major debt in Europe. Debt means they owe money. Okay, so there were property damages, and the losing countries were supposed to pay for those property damages from the war. And of course, we learned a little bit about that when we learned about the Treaty of Versailles and some of the other treaties. Germany had to pay a huge amount of money, and again, it took them 92 years to pay it off. There was a rapid development of technology. So we have already talked about the amount of weaponry and things like that that has developed during this war. And some of the things we didn't talk about were flamethrowers, tracer bullets, air traffic control, depth charges, aircraft carriers. There were pilotless drones developed during World War I. Okay, we also talked about tanks and gas and things like that already. So lots of development of technology to keep them doing well in World War I and then prepare them for future wars. And then there is the effect that one of four young men died in the battles of Western Europe. So one out of four men, that's 25 out of every 100 people that were young men in the Western Europe area died. This would have caused the people that lost those people a great deal of difficulty dealing with that loss. So they would be angry, they would be sad, and that really affects the people of the country because those young men could have been their sons, they could have been their brothers, they could have been their friends, their, whoever. So that is another effect. Those are the effects that you need to know for your test. We've learned some other ones, but those are the ones you want to focus on.